We're the MMA analysts. Let's talk UFC 311. I'm Calvin. There'd usually be a guy named Julian that's right next to me, but he's not here. Ended up on the wrong side of a head kick from yours truly, and he's currently out of commission. Stuff like this can happen. We are MMA people. We like practicing MMA. Occasionally we might get injured, occasionally things might happen, and occasionally one of us might not be in an episode. Our apologies in advance for when this happens, but hopefully it won't happen too much. It's just going to happen sooner than we wanted it to, which is right now. Let's get into UFC 311. This is going to be fun, isn't it? Tagir versus Clayton Carpenter. This is going to be an interesting one. I got Tagir winning this. I think that his range play is a bit better, and I think Carpenter is just kind of not tested enough. I think Carpenter's grappling might be a bit better, but I just don't know. I think Tagir's got this. I just haven't seen Carpenter do enough, and I just haven't seen enough. So I'm going Tagir. Some of these lower ranked fighters, it's going to be harder and harder to tell who's going to win because they're just not really tested yet. But going Tagir. I think he's got this one, and hopefully he gets it. Ricky Turcios versus, who is this fucker? Benardo Sopaj. Interesting. Well, from what I know about Ricky is that he wanted to get into the UFC. And that was it. I'm pretty sure in one of his recent fights, he went 27 strikes for, what was it, 220? I've seen enough. I'm not going with Ricky. I'm going with, I didn't know this fucker's name. Benardo? Benardo. I'm going with Benardo. I think he's got this. I don't even need to know. It could be some rando off the street and I'd pick them over Ricky. He ain't here to stay. And he's not staying in that ring awake. I don't know. He's not staying in there with his hand raised. And if he does, then fuck me. Rinya Nakamura versus Muin. What is it? How do you say it? Gaferov? We're going to say Muin for now. I think Rinya Nakamura's got this. I think his grappling is pretty advanced, and I've seen a little bit of it outside of UFC, actually. I followed him on his page for a while, really, before he got that much bigger. And I think that his striking is looking improved. His hands are looking pretty fast, and he's just looking like he's got some good spacing. His chin's a bit up in the air, and I think he might be there to be taken down, and I think Muin has the capability to. I just don't think he's going to. I think that Muin might try and get him down for a little bit, but I just don't think he's experienced enough or good enough to keep him down. And I see Rinya maybe getting I could see an early KO. I could also see something very similar happening to Muin again, where he puts himself in a fucking guillotine, just like he did against Saeed Nurmagomedov. I could see that happening. He does that more than once, and I've watched a bit of training footage just for this because I just wanted to kind of see it. That dude does it constantly, and I think Rinya is capable of getting it, but I think his striking is really where it's at, and I don't think Muin's got the hands to crack him, and I think Rinya's going to crack him. I'm going Rinya Nakamura. Carol Rosa versus Ailin Perez. This is going to be interesting. I'm going Ailin Perez, and I'm going to go submission second round. I'm not confident in how all these are going to end, but I'm going to give them occasionally. I think Ailin Perez has got this. I think her grappling is pretty advanced, and I think that she's on a hot streak in more than ways than one, I guess, for the UFC. Hopefully this win will put her up on the map, and we'll start to see her as a real contender and not just someone that's shaking her ass, which seems like to be what she's trying to do right now. But to be fair, she's shaking her ass and getting wins, so I guess I can't blame her. That's an easy way to popularity, that's for sure. Rosa is pretty good. I actually think she is pretty good. I just think she's inconsistent. I haven't seen enough fights from her recently, especially last year. She only fought once, I think. Wins, losses, wins, losses. Ailin Perez is on a streak. I think she's going to get this one done too. I think decision. I actually don't. I was going to say submission with the other ones, but I think Rosa's actually good enough to kind of survive. I just don't think she's got the. I think she's got the oomph and the cage spacing to kind of get that striking off like I think she might try to. And I just think Ailin Perez is just gonna control this. I think she's gonna control this fight. ZacharyReese versus Azamat. This is gonna be interesting. It's Bekoev, I think. Azamat versus Zachary is gonna be interesting. Azamat doesn't have a camp for this. Zachary does, and that's why I'm going with Zachary. I think ZacharyReese is pretty shit, honestly, to be real with you. And I was kind of having a hard time picking between him and Cedric Dumas because, fuck me, that fight was that just felt like that fight was doomed from the start. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. They both give out I don't want to say weak will vibes, but kind of weak will vibes. I expected someone to pull out, and it was first Johnny Walker. I mean, weak chin, weak will. And now it's these guys. I'm kidding, guys. I actually am kidding. People pull out all the time. I understand that shit happens. I'm going Zachary. He has a camp, and I think he's going to get this done. It sucks that it has to be the reason, but without a camp, not everyone is like Volkanovski, who can just come in on... Not everyone is like Alex Pereira, who can just come in on short notice and just get wins. You know what I mean? It's just, not everyone's built like that, and even the pound-for-pound #1 sometimes isn't built like that. All right. Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. This is a hidden banger of the night, I think. Grant Dawson doesn't give off a lot of banger performances, but if you push him into it, he sometimes can. I think his grappling has been looking more improved lately, definitely. The jab KO from Bobby Green against Grant Dawson was pretty concerning. I don't know what the hell is going on with Grant Dawson's chin, because it seemed pretty tested and strong for a while, but what the hell was that? I got a bad feeling, guys. I think Grant Dawson's going out again, and this pick is kind of based off a feeling. I think Diego Ferreira has the grappling to kind of nullify Grant Dawson's, at least in the beginning, and I think that's kind of all he needs. This is really just based on a feeling. I don't think Diego Ferreira is that good. I think he has way more pop and a lot more pop in his shots than Grant Dawson. I mean, Jesus, who did he knock out? Michael Johnson? Exact same way that Bryce Mitchell did? Or not Bryce Mitchell, my mistake. Josh Emmett. Sorry, Josh Emmett is someone that got KO'd like Michael Johnson. I think he's got this. I just don't think Diego Ferreira is going to lose this. I think he can get this done, and I just got this gut feeling that Grant Dawson's kind of finished. He's kind of always been on the outskirts of lightweight, and I just think that I think he's going to leave it for good. Next up, Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Elkin. I don't know a lot about Billy Elkin at all. I have watched 2 fights of his, maybe, and I don't remember them being that memorable. Same with Bogdan, honestly. I think he's had only like 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. Wins and losses, looking decent. I was going to pick him against Johnny Walker because it's Johnny Walker and he's getting Johnny Walkered. So I was going to pick him against Johnny Walker. But his chin's not the best either. I think Billy Elkin has a chance here, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Bogdan had a camp. Billy didn't, and I hate the same reason I gave it for ZacharyReese, but there's got to be a point sometimes where you just see the facts, and the facts is one of them had a camp, one of them didn't. Bogdan's got KO power. KO's a safe bet here. I'm going to go Bogdan, and I think it will be early. I think when you're not in the cage, you feel it early, and I think unless you are proven to come in on short notice and win fights, I think you're going to be fucking nervous in there. And especially you're at a weight class, which is just, people get knocked the fuck out, and I think he might not get knocked the fuck out, but I think he's going to be too nervous to kind of let the hands go. And we'll see what happens. But I'm going Bogdan. I think first round KO. Jailton Alemida versus Sergey Spivak. Interesting fight. I think Jailton's got this. Sergey Spivak, hell of a fighter. He's not. He's decent. He's decent, Tom. I think he's one of those guys that will sit at the middle of the pack, and he will continue to sit at the middle of the pack for as long as he's in the UFC. I don't think Jailton's sitting there with him. I think Jailton is better. I think his grappling is better, and I'm going to pick him to win. Now, then again, I expected Jailton to submit Derek Lewis with ease, and that didn't happen. So we'll see. There could definitely be an upset here. I think this is actually going to be a decent test for Jailton. This feels like the right fight for him right now in the division. I think if he wins, he's going to be one of those guys that's kind of like Curtis Blades, around the top 5, surrounding the top 5 for a while he just watches people pass him by. I just don't think he's good enough, guys. I'm sorry. Even with the steroids, it looks like he's injecting him in himself. I just think that these top-level guys are just kind of on another level of just grit and toughness, and it feels like Jailton is going the MMA route and not exactly the fighter route, and that should make sense if you understand. Peyton Talbot versus, who is this guy? Barcelos. Interesting. I think Peyton Talbot's got this just like everyone else does. He's a huge favorite in this fight. I am worried, and it's not to do with Barcelos. It's to do with Peyton Talbot. He's been a little distracted lately. He's on this, full violence thing where he's doing this dating show, and he's the kind of prospect going into 2025. Everyone wants to see what he's going to do. I will say, though, I've seen some good grappling and some good training footage going on in the background. That's what I like to see. If you're not going to be fighting a lot like Peyton Talbot isn't, then you need to be evolving a lot, which I hope he is. And that's what I'm hoping from this fight. I'm hoping that Peyton Talbot is just kind of getting on his roll, and he's just kind of learning in the motions and going slow and steady up. So I guess we'll see how he does this. I suspect probably a first-round KO, but I hope to see some of his grappling. I'd love to see a submission in there, just kind of see what he's working with and see what he's working on. I'm feeling decently confident in this. Peyton Talbot seems pretty cool, calm, and collected in the cage, which is what I like to see with a prospect. I think upsets can happen a lot when you have these prospects that are kind of a little more, either jittery or they get this kind of aggressive side, and it just kind of feels like you're going to make a mistake, and Peyton seems cool, calm, and collected, and I think he's going to get the KO. I'm going first-round KO. All right. Kevin Holland versus Rainier DeRitter. We're getting the main card now. I'm going Kevin Holland. I think Reinier de Ridder is not the Dricus Duplessis that everyone thinks he is. I think that he is a fool that is still learning how to strike, and I think he looked ridiculous against GM3 because GM3 is on the level of everyone he was fighting. I think this is a different level. I think Kevin Holland is a different level, but I'm also worried. Kevin Holland had a horrible performance against Roman Dolidze. He looked like shit. He really looked like shit. Like, let me tell you, he looked bad, guys. He looked bad. I was not impressed at all, and this has made me a bit nervous. He also doesn't seem that committed on fight week, but when was Kevin Holland ever committed, I guess? I think he's going to get this done. I think we might see a KO, we might see a submission, but I'm going to lean towards KO, honestly. Could be a decision as well. I could see Kevin Holland somehow managing that, but Reinier de Ridder kind of gives this glass chin energy, and I'm not sure if that's anyone else, but I definitely feel that when I watch him, and it looks like he's Bambi. It looks like he's learning how to walk when he's freaking striking, and I think this is mostly going to be a striking fight. And if it's grappling, I just don't think he's going to submit Kevin Holland. Well, I don't think Kevin Holland's a black belt. I do think Kevin Holland's pretty good. When it comes to the grappling, let me clarify here. Renato Moicano versus Beneil Dariush. This is going to be interesting. Very interesting. This fight is kind of a long time coming. It feels like it was like I was looking it up, this fight, just to make sure this isn't the second fight for them. It was feeling like they have already fought before, but nope. Just two guys have been in the lightweight division for a while, surrounding the top 15, and have never fought. Beneil was good. He was, for a little bit. Not fluky, but definitely a little lucky. He was landing some big shots, which you can call skill, but they just seemed like, I'm getting my ass kicked, I need to land something big. What is impressive about Beneil is his grappling. His grappling scrambles are also very impressive. I think that Beneil is just kind of past it. I think it's been too long. I think Moicano, it is his time. I think you're going to give me the money, my brother. You're going to give me the money. And I think he has the money. I think he's going to get the money. I think he's getting the win. I would not be surprised if Beneil pulls this off. And I also won't be surprised if this is a hidden banger of the night. But I suspect it's just going to be, I think it's going to be like a 29-28. I don't think it's going to be a 30-27. I think that Beneil is going to scrape by the third round for some reason. I think Moicano's going to come out hot and heavy in the first two, get Beneil down maybe. I think Beneil might be able to scramble out of there. I think he'll land some good ground and pound shots as Beneil's coming up. I think he'll threaten submissions, and I think he'll work the jab. I just don't see a lot of pop behind Beneil's shots or in his feet. The way he moves, he's just not moving like he used to. And I'm worried about that. I think Moicano still got some pop in his shots, and I think that he's going to use it, and I think he's going to win the first two, gas out a little bit, but survive the third and get the decision win. And I think after that, I want to start seeing Moicano versus top 5, someone else in the top 10. He's getting close to a title shot. This would be a 5-fight win streak for him. He's up there. He's definitely up there. Yuri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. This feels like, I don't know, this feels like the gladiator fight of the night, if that makes sense. We have it with Gaethje versus Chandler. We have it with Gaethje versus Fiziev, Chandler versus Dustin. These fights where you just see the two guys that are on the card. Yuri versus Rakic. These guys that are just, you just know what it's going to be. It's going to be a fight. Now, both these guys have suffered losses to Alex Pereira, both getting KO'd last year. Both in pretty bad fashion. Jamal's been talking a lot about how Yuri got dominated. I don't think he got dominated. Well, that's a lie. He did get dominated, but so did Jamal. I think Jamal saying he just got caught is bullshit. I think his range got big found out, and I think that he's upset by that. Obviously, he still thinks he doesn't gotten KO'd. And I just think that Yuri's willing to evolve, and Jamal's not. Jamal's in denial. Yuri's not. I'm going Yuri on this. I know a lot of people are suspect of his chin. I think he's still going to get this done. I think Jamahal Hill's defense is even worse than Yuri's in some ways, because at least Yuri is baiting people in with his hands down, where Jamahal Hill's hands just aren't really down but aren't near his face. He just looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. Hill has some power. I just think that he's not what everyone says he's been. He could get the KO. I'm more worried about Yuri's chin than Jamal's skill. And I just am choosing to rely on Yuri's chin, which has been something that has survived the test of time unless it's been against Alex Pereira. He's the only one that's really cracked Yuri. That's a lie. Other people have cracked Yuri, but you know what I mean. Cracked Yuri. Gotten Yuri down bad. And I think Hill's not the guy. I think we're going to see some exchanges in the pocket. I think Yuri's going to push Hill because Hill lets himself get pushed against the fence too much. I could see a Volkan Ozdemir-esque KO with a looping straight right down the pipe, and Hill has nowhere to go, and it's going to land right in the button. I don't think it's going to be out cold like maybe Alex Perez was.
Going to straight, bro.
I think it will be a decent TKO. I could see Hill getting the KO too. He could get Yuri when he's coming in, but I think Yuri's taking this evolution seriously. I think he knows this is his last chance at the title. I don't think this is enough for him. He's talking about getting a title shot after this. it's not enough. It's not enough. He needs 2, probably 3 wins. I want to see him fight the winner of Jan versus Olberg for a shot, or Khalil. I suspect Khalil's going to fight Rakic. I want to see that. I want to see the winner of Olberg versus Jan versus Yuri. That just makes sense. And if Yuri gets this done, that's the fight to make. This is going to be a close fight, guys. And I think Yuri would probably get hurt. Like he gets touched in every fight. I just think that the spirits are with him on this one. We'll see how it goes, though. I'm pretty excited for this one. I think it is the banger of the card, 100%. Moving on, guys. This is a difficult one. I don't even know where to start. Merab versus Umar. This is going to be a close-ass fight, guys. I'm really, really, really worried about this fight. I don't know who's going to win. I want Umar to win because he's a more exciting fighter. But I'm just... Recently, and I'm going to be real. I'm going to pick Umar. Let's just get that out of the way. I'm picking Umar Nurmagomedov to win this fight. I think if anyone can prepare for Merab's grappling, it's going to be Umar, and I think Umar is going to get this done. I think he is. I think he's just going to win slightly by the striking. Then again, guys, I thought Petr Yan was going to win against Merab too. He has much better striking, and his takedown defense is masterful. It didn't matter. Merab is built different. Let's be real. It's probably just due to EPO or some shit, but this guy is built just crazily. He's just doing this shit, which I can't believe. He's just schooling these people. Not schooling. He's dominating and Merabbing these people. I'm sorry. He's Merabbing them, and it's just looking horrible. I think Umar might be our final hope. I think Umar is going to get it done. I think he's going to scrape by a decision. I could really see it even being a robbery. I know the UFC really does not like Merab, and I know that whoever wins this fight will be fighting Sean O'Malley again because there's just no such thing really as rankings in UFC. It's really just how much money can Dana White make. Not a lot with Sean O'Malley, but I mean, keep going down that hole, I guess. Don't invest in your other fighters like Tom Aspinall or anyone else that's actually someone that's a promising fighter. You know, someone's actually promising. I'm sorry, Sean O'Malley, you just gifted shit. He defended against Chito Vera. Wasn't even able to get the finish. Got dropped from a body shot in the final round. Come on. What was he doing against Merab? I'm on a tangent. I think Umar's going to win slightly with the striking in this, and I think he's going to get it done. I think Merab's striking is not that great. I think that his grappling is not. I think his submissions are not that great. I just think his grappling is the strength. But talking with Julian about it a little bit ago earlier, he's the one that kind of convinced me on this one. It really kind of got me to sway one way or the other. I just think that if anybody can prepare for Merab's grappling, it's Khabib. And it's Khabib's team. I think he's going to get this done. I think it's going to be close. I think that Merab could definitely win. It's my most contested fight in a long time. I really don't know who's going to win this, but I'm leaning Merab. I'm leaning Umar. My mistake. Forgive me. They're just, you know what I mean. They both have beards down here, not a lot of mustaches, and they're both just kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. I know Merab blusters a lot, but I just find that boring, and Umar is just boring. Doesn't deserve this, but whatever. This is the UFC, at least in terms of these kind of fighters nowadays. Getting into a more deserving title shot, let's talk about the main event. Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev. And to go back, I'm going to just say Umar is winning this by decision. I think just decision. Arman versus Islam. This is an exciting-ass fight, guys. This is a title shot that's worthy. Arman Tsarukyan has grown a lot. First fight against Islam, very close. A lot of people call it Islam's toughest test. I don't know how you can say that when he lost to Volk in the first fight, but this will be a hard test for Islam, that's for damn sure. Arman came in on a week's notice when he was 22 years old, about 5 years ago now. Took him to a decision, won a round off him, won a lot of grappling exchanges too, able to reverse Makhachev at multiple points. MMA Guru, Lucas Tracy, Bedtime MMA, a lot of other YouTubers as well have been flip-flopping back and forth, and they've been saying, like, Arman could get it done, guys. He could get it done. Guru went as far to say as Arman's definitely going to get it done. In the words of a disgraced MMA fighter, stand your base. Stand your fucking base. Stand your base, bro. Arman Tsarukyan's getting it done. I absolutely believe in Arman in this fight. There are a lot of reasons why, but there's also just this gut feeling. People get it. I'm getting this with this one. A lot of things to go over. Number one, Arman is a better wrestler than Islam. He's smaller, and that's his biggest disadvantage in this fight completely. I also think his striking is a touch worse as well, but we'll get into all this. Islam Makhachev has been focusing more on his striking recently. Very apparent in the Dustin Poirier fight and the Volkanovski fight. I think he paid for it in both. I think his striking is good, and it definitely is up there, but I think if you're not fighting a short notice Volk, you're going to decision against him and getting dropped in the last round, and everyone arguably thought you lost at the time. I still think he did, especially if you use current day criteria for the scoring. That fourth round was all damage for Volk and just hugging for Makhachev. Let's just call it what it is. Dustin fight, did really good. Outboxed Dustin, but let's be real. Dustin is not the same as he once was. Hip replacement, not really throwing a lot in that fight. A lot of people call that a fight of the year contender. I think it was a gritty fight, and I think it was a tough fight on both sides. There's a lot of inactivity in that fight with Islam not throwing, not shooting, and getting hit a lot by Dustin, who I think is quite frankly washed. I just don't know how Islam is going to win this one, because everyone is saying it's going to be his striking. I don't think his striking looked that good against Dustin, and I think that he's not focusing on his grappling as much as he used to. I think he's interested in being the evolved version of Khabib, which is something good to strive for. But if you're not focusing on that grappling like he should be for this fight, I think Arman's going to get takedowns, and I think he's going to reverse Islam way easier than he did before. He's older, he's learned way more, he's gained more experience. I have a lot of respect for Islam, and I think he's obviously evolved as a fighter, especially in his striking, but let's not pretend that Arman hasn't evolved just as much, if not more. He definitely has. He's fighting higher level competition. The Gamrot fight was a robbery, let's just be real. He's undefeated up until Islam, and I think Islam has had harder fights, and I think Arman's going to get this done. Body kick, going to come into play. I think it's going to hit underneath the arms. Islam has been having a high guard recently a lot. I think it's going to come into play a lot. I also think the leg kick can too. I can see a head kick KO. I could really see that. I can see him setting it up with the leg and the body kick. Arman's body kicks are no joke. And if it brings down the Islam's hands, we saw Arman landing head kicks in the first fight. I think Arman can land them in this one too. I think Islam has just become too reliant on his striking, and he's become too balanced, which is a good place to be unless you're fighting someone that's younger, a better wrestler, and who's been fighting arguably people more in his division. He's fighting Beneil Dariush, KOing him. He's fighting Charles Oliveira and beating him, maybe not as dominantly as Islam, but styles make fights, and I think that's proven in the first fight. Arman was 22 years old and took Islam to a decision and won a round. He's not 22 years old anymore, and he has been training his ass off. You can see it. I'm starting to get suspicious of this guy. He looks like he might be on drugs too. I'd feel bad for Islam if he hadn't officially popped before. I don't know why no one talks about that anymore. I think Islam's going to have some success. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to piece him up with the jab a bit. But I think Islam's going to find his groove. I think he's just a little bit slicker on the in and outs than Islam is. And I think that the grappling is just not a threat to Arman at all. I think Arman's not worried about Islam's grappling, and I don't think he needs to be. I think anything he gets taken down with, he can get out of. I certainly don't think he's getting submitted from Islam. I just think that Arman's going to win a decision with this one. I'm seeing a 3-2, maybe a 4-1 decision. I could also see a late KO. If he sets up the head kick right with the leg kicks and the body kick with Islam's high guard and just kind of backs out like he has been doing in his fights a little bit with the striking exchanges, I just think that he's not a good matchup for Islam. I think he's a better wrestler. I think he has better defensive wrestling. I think his cardio is about the same as Islam's, if not better. We saw Islam slow down against Dustin and against Volk twice now in 5-rounders. I just think that Arman's on a bit more of a streak right now in terms of just fighting top-level people. I don't mean that Islam hasn't fought top-level people in the past. I'm just saying recently. Islam has fought an off-the-couch Volk, and he fought Dustin Poirier once last year. Now, Arman's activity hasn't been fantastic, but he's at least fought Charles and Arman recently. It's been almost, 3 years since Islam fought Charles too? I'm feeling Arman in this one, guys, and I'm not sorry to say it. I could be wrong. Islam striking could be more advanced than I think, and this could be a good camp for him, but I'm not convinced. I think Arman's got this, and I think that I'm feeling it. I'm just kind of feeling like this is going to be an interesting win. I think it's going to be an interesting fight either way. I think it's going to be a great fight night. Actually, it's a pay-per-view. Let me rephrase. I think it's going to be a great pay-per-view card. There's a lot of close fights. Some of the closest fights I've ever seen. Really good matchmaking going on all around, just in terms of skill, maybe not in rank or who deserves what, but I'm excited for this card, guys. Those are my picks. I'm going Arman by decision, 3-2. Just to recap the main card, at least, I'm going Arman by decision, 3-2. Almost said Islam. Now I look like a fool. I'm going Umar Nurmagomedov also by decision. I'm going Yuri Prohaska by second round KO. I think he's going to do the similar thing to Rakic, where it's going to be a bit more even though with Rakic than it was with Rakic. I think it's going to be Hill and Yuri firing back and forth, both landing big shots. I think Hill might get a decent big moment, but nothing crazy. I think second round, Yuri comes out, gets him against the cage, and Hill's letting him, and I think he gets put out. After that, before that one, Moicano versus Beneil. I think Beneil's just a little bit past his prime, and I think that he's just going to get outworked here. I think it's going to be a decision for Moicano. I just don't think he quite has the pop to put away Beneil, but I do think he has the momentum and grit to get the decision. And then RDR versus Kevin Holland. RDR is a joke. Kevin Holland is just a bit less of one. I'm excited, guys. I think that Kevin Holland's getting... I think Kevin Holland's getting a second round KO. And yeah, it's going to be crazy. I usually don't go with a lot of decisions. I usually feel finishes, even when they usually don't happen. But that's the main card, guys. And that is the card in general. We've covered it all. I have covered it all, actually. We'll recap with Julian's picks after everything. But I'm pretty excited, guys. This has been a pretty exciting week. And I'm sorry that we couldn't get an official video out to you. But I'm happy we could put something together. Until then, guys, stay frosty. And we'll see you at the card.
Shama.